trans. I am a lady. I'm not. This isn't a bit. This isn't anything. This is a me coming out, I suppose, which is maybe cynical to do in podcast format because this is my job or whatever, or this is, maybe there's some sort of idea that I'm doing this for clout or for some manipulation. I don't know. It's like I want attention, not necessarily for this. I mean, maybe for this. It'd be nice if people would say, "Oh, you're so pretty," once I start posting pictures. But it's been really interesting to come to this conclusion. One, I'm 34 years old. I am old. I am a fucking crone at this point. I am, I've long since lived past. My puppy girl days are over. I'm a dog woman now. I'm a freaking bitch now. I think I want to talk about it because I've somehow posted my way into a job where I have to be constantly talking, and not just talking, but coming up with ideas. And I don't want to say the word I guess I make art. I make radio shows. I make comics, and I make them with frequency such that I need to mine my everyday daily life or what I'm thinking about for subject matter. And it's been really hard to do that for the last year or so because this is all I've been thinking about. The sort of gender dysphoria finally caught up with me in a lot of significant ways. I'm sure it was COVID. It might have been COVID just, forcing you to be insular and coming to terms with yourself. I'm sure half of it had to do with freaking Twitter, being on Twitter alone, where you just, for years before I was, I was sort of, early on, when I was much younger, I was transphobic. I was straight up transphobic. I would deny, I would say shit like, they can't ever make their chromosomes XX chromosomes, so why even try? Why even, it's always going to be fake. I would say awful shit like that. And I'm sure that was all a function of the lady doth protest too much. Obviously there was some element in me that was like, oh, this is something that I really want. And the reason why I'm so angry or I'm railing against it is because, I'm looking for any excuse to, not have to go down road and face what I know will be the scrutiny from other people for liking this shameful thing, this thing that I've always been taught is shameful and perverted, even from the very beginning. I don't make a lot of bones about pop culture or, representation. I think there's, ultimately that's important, but I think reality and material reality and laws and housing matters infinitely more, and culture flows downstream from that. But I do think of all of the just casual transphobia that was just foisted upon me as a child growing up in the 90s. As a child of the 90s, there were many examples of transphobia that we had to wade through. Of course, everyone knows about Ace Ventura, but the ones that were much more powerful to me were like the Simpsons ones. There were in the few jokes in the early Simpsons which had to deal with trans people. Some were okay. There's one where Barney thinks Homer is getting... at first I was against Homer having a sex change, but if he wants to be a woman, so be it. And that's a nice joke because Barney accepts Homer. But the one that I kept, that was in my head for a while, or the one that, had a surprising amount of influence on me, despite it being a throwaway joke, is the one where... I think it's an I Married Marge, or it's like in one of the flashback episodes. The one where Lisa's getting bored. Where do we keep Bart? Bart can sleep with us Lisa can sleep in the crib, and Bart can sleep in the bed with us. Marge says, "Won't that warp him?" Homer says, "No, well, my cousin Frank did it." "You don't have a cousin Frank." "He became Francine back in '06. Then he joined that cult. I think his name is Mother Shabooboo," which is, look, the joke is transphobic. I still find it funny to this day. But I mean, just the phrase Mother Shabooboo, and, but but the premise is, sleeping in the same bed as your parents will turn you into a crazy person if you're too old to do it. And the evidence of someone being a crazy person is that, Frank became Francine. And who is Francine? I want to know more about Francine. I want to know more about Mother Shabubu. What drove her to join this cult? Maybe it was transphobia that made Mother Shabubu. But this was a frequent, so, not only did I find this funny, but my dad found this extremely funny. My dad, who has a pretty strong form of echolalia, where he just repeats words that he finds funny over and over and over again. So he would just say, I think his name is Mother Shabubu now, over and over. It's just Shabubu or Shabubu over and over again, because it's a funny word. So he wanted to say it. And so this joke somehow became this like primary this primary factor in my interpretation of trans equals crazy, trans equals warped, and it wasn't just jokes like that. I remember in the Tokyo episode of The Simpsons, there was Chuck Garabedian, right? You have to squeeze everybody on his boat. It says, see, be surrounded by these beautiful women, huh? They were once men, and everyone else, everyone's disgusted by Chuck Garabedian's trans women. The thing is, the way that the women are drawn on Chuck Garabedian's, they're hotties, they're straight up hotties, even within the world of Simpsons design. So I don't get why everyone was so, but that's what you knew. That's what was the thing at the time. If someone is, if a woman is trans, if there was any inkling of a penis on her, oh no, you're ruined, you're terrible, you're awful, you're shameful, you're perverted, right? So what was it growing up in the 90s? What did you have? I didn't even watch Twin Peaks when I was a kid. I think maybe one of the few sole representations of trans people that were positive on TV was David Duchovny in Twin Peaks as Denise, who I later, found out later watching Twin Peaks: The Return, which I had watched first, and then I retroactively got back to Twin Peaks, which is not how you're supposed to do it. But I didn't even know that character existed until years later. What I knew was The Crying Game. That was the big movie that was about, and the person that played Dell in that movie wasn't even a trans woman. But that was like, everyone's like, she's so hot, but she's got a fucking dick. I can't fuck, like everyone was collectively fucked up by this because, something about our society says that if you have a certain type of body or if you're portrayed in a certain type of way, you have to conform to relatively strict gender roles. And even if you don't, even if you're like gay, even if you're a femi twink, you're still a man. That somehow is of more comfort to people than the idea that gender is something that is malleable. That seems very scary to a certain type of conservative person. And it did to me, because it's like, well, if this can be malleable, then there are no rules. I think you should. I just think there are no rules. There are just no rules. There are rules, but it's just, you can bend them. They're more for some reason, the idea that you don't have to adhere to these strict guidelines. I think it's like, once you start thinking in a sort of a more vaster way, you get this choice blindness. You start understanding how many paths are open to you. So it's like when you're just looking at a grocery store with infinite selection and you become paralyzed with fear at having to even make a choice because which one is the right one. And so I think people sort of need these strict structures in their lives sometimes in order to feel a sense of mooring to reality. But obviously these structures hurt you if they're too strict, and you some part of you lies outside these natural strictures. So as it did for me, but because I think I sought comfort in the idea of I didn't come out as gay or bisexual. I'm bisexual, which is embarrassing. But I'm bisexual, and I didn't come out as that until I was, very late, 23. I didn't have like sex until I was 24. Just so uncomfortable with my body. Not that I didn't have the opportunity to. There were lots of people that expressed interest in me and, would even go out of their way to, try and attract me. But I was just like, there was something in my head which was like, I can't inflict myself on these people. There's something, I feel like a horrible walking pile of shit for some reason, even though I'm not a terrible looking person. Obviously not. For many, I'm a very, I'm fine, but there was just something about it, something about this idea that I felt that I was this, gruesome, smelly stink monster. And, the only way that I would ever, inure people to me or get them to see past the stink monster is if I can, entertain them in some way or cause them, get them to laugh, and I think that's sort of like one of the big ideas of one of the big psychological boons to trying to be funny and succeeding in being funny is if you have a very poor self-image and you get someone to laugh and it's genuine laughter and not nervous laughter, which I didn't know how to differentiate between those before. Over the course of time, I learned how to differentiate between those. But then it's like you feel like you've tricked someone into seeing past your monstrous appearance into, maybe seeing the humanity beneath you, which is sad because that's shallow. That's not a good way to approach it. What you should really do is just not be paranoid. You should try and stem that little paranoid thought in you, which is that everybody hates me. I'm so fuck ugly that everybody hates me. But what I realize now, what I thought I was confusing for years, I thought it was dysmorphia. I thought because one, I wasn't generally masculine looking, and I didn't want a mask body. I didn't want to go to the gym and develop myself. And there was always this image I had of myself in my head being super mask and super buff and fucking, yeah, I'm gonna, grow out a gigantic beard and gonna shave my head. We're all gonna be bears together. And we're gonna have really rough fucking pirate sex together. And these cheeks are gonna be hard. No soft ass twink cheeks. And so even as I came out of, even after I was gay and in gay relationships, I still performed masculinity, which is stupid because you're gay. You don't have, you can be a femi twink if you want. You can be whatever you want. But I still felt this need to be like Bear Man. For whatever reason. I think because one, I realize now is misogyny. I'm just afflicted with fucking misogyny throughout my entire life. And what didn't become apparent until the trans thoughts really started coming. And it's I like Danny DeVito and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I get it now. I get how much I hated women for many reasons. You're told to hate them by society. I hate girl stuff. It's pink and fucking gay and stupid and insubstantial. I hate Sarah McLachlan, that's not girl stuff. But, the idea of tenderness or softness that is usually attributed to stereotypical femininity, I thought was abhorrent. One, because that's So funny story about my childhood education. When I was up to age 7, I went to an all-girls school because they allowed boys. Because I don't know, when you're a tiny kid, you're basically genderless. You can do whatever you want. Parents don't mind if a 5-year-old plays with kitties or pink stuff because it's not. I mean, some parents do mind if the boys are playing with a little Polly Pocket. Which is, I wanted to, that when I was 4 years old, I was always, when they brought me over to a girl's house and they had the freaking Polly Pockets, I was like, I want that. But then, my mom saw me playing with that and she was like, oh, he likes the miniatures. We'll get him the Mighty Max, the male coded equivalent to Polly Pocket, which was fine. Those Mighty Maxes were cool. No shade on Mighty Max. Mighty Max sets, wonderful. But yeah, the, sort of the early inklings I had towards girly stuff were quashed out by my parents who thought, well, he's a boy, he looks like that. If you're a boy and you like girly stuff, you get ostracized, so better push him towards the boy stuff. Which was fine because the boy stuff is good too. I mean, that's another reason, you might get trapped up or you might wait as long as I did to come to the discovery of you're a girl is because a lot of the signifiers people use are well, you're probably trans if you were, when you were a boy, you liked Pink and Frilly shit and Barbie, which is stupid because there are plenty of cis male twinks that like fucking Pink and Barbie. That's no logical indicator that you're going to be trans or not. But that's sort of these are the ideas you have in your head, because like trans women can only be like a certain type of thing. They have to be, they have to be ultra feminine. They have to be, if you're going to be a quote unquote real woman, you have to be, one, ultra feminine. Two, you have to, go all the way and, get the bottom surgery. You have to pass. You have to, those are the, like, we won't accept you anyway, but society won't hurt you as much if you can convincingly pass or something like that. I don't know. I'm sure I'm gonna get wrapped up into all this discourse. These are my personal feelings. Don't take these as any proclamations towards anything wider. This is just, what I've been chewing on for the last few years. So yeah, I'm a tiny child. A lot of my friends are girls in this class. It's fine to hang out with them and to be girly with them. And then at the end of grade 2, I get taken out of this school into an all-boys school, which was a much different experience. All the teachers were men who came from, in Canada, it was a Canadian private school, so all of them came from that, like, English boarding school, like, brutalize you into compliance tradition, which was not good for me as a little 8-year-old girl. Going to an all-boys school where suddenly all the teachers were like very much, if you can't have your pudding, you can't have your pudding if you don't eat your meat. Like, when I saw the wall years later, I was like, wow, they were just doing this. This was a whole thing. So yeah, I was in a very much like brutal Scottish overseer type of situation where they were, and I cried so much as an 8-year-old. One, because I'm a sensitive child, but also my parents were going through an awful divorce. They had a terrible relationship, and no one ever asked me how I was doing. They just told me to stop crying, which is how boys are social, especially when you're 8 and you're starting to, grow up and you're starting to look more like a boy, instead of this, genderless child blob. You start getting the thing from older male figures of like, we're gonna prepare you for the world. The world is rough for men, and you gotta prepare yourself. I'm doing a Scottish accent. The teacher that I'm referring, there is a specific teacher that he was Welsh though, and I'm not. I can't. What was the Welsh voice that he was doing? You gotta man up. You gotta man up. So stop your crying. Stop your crying. Yeah, I can't do the Welsh accent. Stop your crying. He didn't stop like that. It sounds like that, but it'd be funny if he did. And the thing is, like, I don't begrudge this teacher. I think he genuinely liked the kids, and because this is how he was taught. This is like a very traditional way to raise boys. And because, he would have no idea I was a girl. I didn't have any idea I was a fucking, who did, it was just something you didn't think about. It was just something that was just Dell in the crying game, and that's it. And the one lady from the 60s, Christine Jorgensen, and those were the two trans women that people knew. And it's anomalous and weird, and it's used for, shock value in movies and TVs, and that's really all that's good for. That's what you knew about it. If you were like a parent raising a kid, there was just no. And if your what you thought was your little boy said you were a little girl, you would just dismiss it as like, kids are crazy. Kids are fucking. Kids say the darndest things or whatever. And I don't know if I had ever expressed that as a child. I think there were. But even as a kid, you're just totally forced into the closet. If you're socialized with other boys, my male socialization, which I think that's a fraught term. I don't understand how it's fraught, but I'm sure everything is fraught. Who cares? We're fraughting now. Yeah. Yeah. So there was always, sort of an understanding that I was not like the other boys. But the other thing is very easy to mistake is you might mistake it for gay, especially if you're also gay. Especially if you're bi like me, or like when you're still a man and you're still convinced you're a man and you're into men, then it's like, oh, that's the answer. Okay, of course. Now I can, the long journey of identity is over, and I have settled at bisexuality as my waylay station. And turns out there was more to go. There was more queer underbrush to clear out before I had, finally formulated that sense of innateness. So, you chug along for a while, and I did, still just uncomfortable with my body, never having like a serious relationship throughout high school, barely into college. I wanted to, have sex with women and men, but I was just so uncomfortable because once again, can't inflict myself on people. Why? I wouldn't want to be part of any club that would have me as a member, right? The only reason why they're into me is because they're some sort of fucking sicko, right? Or they're entertaining me or humoring me in some way, because there's no way somebody would actually want to like kiss this rotten piece of shit, right? Which is, it's a bad thing. Shouldn't have that thought about myself, but you do. So I found hooking up with men easier than hooking up with women, also due to misogyny, because I thought, well, men, they'll fuck anything, right? So even if I'm a fucking uggo, he's got that male sexual libido, so he would never be willing to, he'd fuck a big ugly pile of shit, and he'd like that because he, not only is that misogyny, I realize that's sort of homophobic as well. So these internalized misogynies and homophobia. So I've only had, one serious relationship in my life. It was a good relationship. I prize it that much. It was Jay. He's been on the show. You can hear him talk before. And I've also, I came out as trans to him earlier, and he's so nice. He's a lovely man. I love him to this day, but in a Jerry and Elaine sort of way. Actually, now that's really true. So there you go. It all came full circle. Hopefully I can be Elaine-like, because, I'm sure like many trans women, that's the one I want to be. I like her. There's lots of archetypes of women, cis women out there. But no, Elaine, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, if I could model myself after her somehow, that would be nice. We'll see. I don't think I'll be as wonderfully beautiful as her, but we'll try. We'll try and get to Julia territory. Either way, so yeah, I had this very long committed relationship with this man, but the reason why we ultimately ended it, and I guess I'm getting personal, but we couldn't make it work in the bedroom, honestly, and that was something that we'd both considered. At the time, I thought it was, well, we're both tops, essentially, or that's how I viewed myself, because I was still going for super masky. But the real reason was, nope, it was dysphoria. Because while I can have this emotional intimacy with him, physically, I understand that what he finds attractive about me is my male qualities. What he finds attractive about me is, the fact that I have, this square, thick, hairy body, and a beard and stuff like that. I know that's what he's into, and that's what drives what he likes about me. And that, I don't know, it's strange. You realize that you can't just like, it's not enough to be able to, or at least for me, it's not enough to be able to receive affection, but you have to be able to conceptualize yourself receiving affection first before you can actually receive it in a substantial way. Or that's how it felt to me. And in the first of many dumb gay metaphors that I used to articulate how these feelings work, because that's what you do. It's like this whole gender thing is very abstract when you get right down to it. So you sort of manage it or negotiate it through imagery. At least for me, because I guess I'm a visual person, I'm a comics artist, so I had to think of these, as I've been calling them, dumb gay metaphors, these gay little trans parables for myself, or what I felt like, or like what Kafka read, like Kafka's short stories about Der Bau, about, or Der Hungerkünstler or something like that. Kafka, who's, many suspect, Egg City over here, Egg City, Kafka. You shouldn't speculate on fucking eggs. Also, I don't like that term. We can get into that later. But Yeah, so the thing that I would say is that it sort of felt like I'm a satellite dish, you know. You're a broken satellite dish, you know. You can't receive these signals because there's just too many lumps and bumps on you. But if you smooth it out to a curve, you see, then you can receive the signals. The curve in this case would be an ass or like a tit or something like that, which is stupid that, like, I mean, so much of my sense of well-being revolves around this idea that I want my body to look a certain way. You know, I want just a few inches more of flesh here, a few less here, you know. Why is this causing me such distress? Why should it cause anyone such distress? But it does. And you just have to deal with it, because I wish it didn't. I mean, that was the moment that I like knew it was for real. Like when I first started really coming to terms with it, when I first started having you are a fucking girl, admit it, you son of a bitch, thoughts. Like my reaction to the like admit you're a girl thoughts were like the Michael Scott yelling, "No, God, no, no!" It's because it's like I mean, I guess the fear is the fears are several. One, there is a lot of scrutiny on trans people right now. They are I suppose I can start saying now. Maybe. I hope people don't. I really hope people hope I'm not doing it. I hope people don't think I'm doing this like cynically or for some weird other reason other than the fact that this is my life and I like talking about it. But yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say something and then I forgot what it doesn't matter. Either way. Yeah. So. Yeah, that's the funny thing about, you know, breaking up and realizing it's gender dysphoria, how much like everything in your life crystallizes, every decision you've ever made once you finally turn the girl switch, you know, is like, oh, I did that because it was dysphoria. Like I did interviews recently. It's like, oh, why did you stop acting? Well, you were a child actor. Why did you stop acting? And I gave some sort of like weird bullshit response of like, oh, you know, you just have to be comfortable with being cattle. I didn't have it. No, the real answer was I hated seeing my fucking face on TV. You know, I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I sounded. I hated, you know, just everything about having my appearance up there and the fact that it was there for everyone to see. I mean, it's in the halls. It's in the, everyone can see me as a boy now, and there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, I think that's also what, you know, if you're asked to perform masculinity as a child, I did that as a child very on TV. I literally performed as a boy on TV and was praised for it. People seemed to very much be enamored with that. And I got a lot of course, you get a confidence boost. Yeah, on TV, that's cool. You're that weird boy on TV. I am that weird boy on TV. So in terms of something that reinforces the idea you're a boy, the idea that you're typecast constantly as a boy, albeit a nerdy, effeminate one usually, still, that'll fuck with you. That'll fuck with you a little. So yeah, I that was one of the. I quit acting. I now understand. Oh, it was dysphoria. Why couldn't you make it work in these relationships? Oh, it was dysphoria. You know, why did you hole up and why are you so fucking introverted all the time, even though you sort of have a desire to go out and see people? Oh, it's dysphoria. You know, all this stuff that becomes crystal clear once the thing finally happens. Which I'm sure happened a lot earlier for some people because they didn't have as many sort of mechanisms or locks on their discovery of it. Or maybe they were just less cowardly than me. And, you know, I said, oh, you're not cowardly. Everyone takes their time. But I'd be lying if I said there's not a part of me that feels sort of chicken shit and cowardly for, like, not doing this sooner or not having the self-possession to really confront who I was because I was still filled with just immense amounts of conservative Catholic bullshit telling me, pervert, you know, fetish, wrong, shame, you know. uh, just all of that stuff, it really gets in, it really digs in deep, and you don't understand how deep it is until you finally excavate it and realize what was holding you down. Yeah, and that's that primary idea, that sort of like that thing that I inherited, not just from my dad's Catholic, my mom's. The thing about Judaism is, especially like the Reform Judaism that I grew up with, is pretty permissive. It's not very gloom and doom in the same way that Catholicism is like you're going to be punished forever. It has that vibe to it. And so all the Catholic stuff was a lot more damaging because it was a lot more based around like you're going to go to hell, like images of hell, which was weird because that's not usually a Catholic thing. But the way my dad taught it to me and the way that religion growing up was taught to me was that hell was very much a part of it. And so there was that eternal damnation if you give too much into pleasure, or this hatred of pleasure, and that's what it comes down to me. If you feel good, it must be bad, right? And so you learn that anhedonia is almost this way to be morally pure. If you don't feel good, then you're probably doing okay, which led to this pervasive anhedonia throughout my life. Causing all sorts of depression because, the true source of joy, the true source of euphoria or pleasure, however you want to call it, was being cut off from me. This idea that, as I couldn't be the satellite, I couldn't receive any joy signals because I was all bent out of shape. But you're told if you bend yourself, if you put yourself back into shape, that's a sin. That's what perverts do. That's what fuckos do. Even though it's your own body, it's God's body. It still belongs to God. And when you're doing anything to it, you're making God cry. And that's, a very, patriarchal, misogynistic thing, like non-ownership of your body. We control your body. But it gets applied to boys too, this especially in the way that you're expected to sacrifice yourself or use your boy meat to defend there's all these sort of expectations of like we do believe in bodily autonomy, but there are all these secret societal expectations that marshal you to be against it. And so yeah, I held these ideas very deeply, and it took a while to unlock them. I think all of this wasn't helped by the whole pervert shame thing, by the fact that the first images you'll see of a trans body as a youngster in the 90s, as someone that, or in the early 2000s, or an elder millennial, the first time you will see and specifically the body that I want, and which I'll be honest about it. I don't want bottom surgery. I want to be a lady with a dick or whatever. I'm fine with. I'll get honest about it. It's fine for me. That's the thing that I want. That's the thing that seems good to me, and that comes with a sense of innateness. That comes with that sense of I have this image in my head of who or what I want to be. And I can never get there because that image has been, stripped away from me, or has been told that it is forbidden, So the first image you'll see of a lady with someone with like breasts and wide hips and a penis is porn. That's where you'll see it. So, in terms of like and not just porn, like crazy porn, too, like fucking hentai, futanari shit, and that'll wind you down a path of like getting, weird. You might get weird porn brain as a result of that. But so if you're the first image where you see a reified trans woman, specifically the type of trans woman who has a body that you might want, is in this setting where they are sexually fetishized, and they are seen as this perversion or an object, and you are attracted to that, as I was very much so. But you think it's only as your libido as a male, I don't want to be that. I'm only attracted to that, and not only am I attracted to that, and of course that comes with shame, because it's like, oh, you can't be attracted to, women with penises. That's terrible. That's like awful. That's what society tells you. So it has to be this little pervert shame thing for you that you don't discuss with other people, which I didn't for a while. But that's the other part of like the repression dance, is that sort of like repressive thing does come with its weird libidinal energy. So in a weird way, like the act of secretiveness or repression becomes part of what makes it hot, which is also fucked up, and you don't want it. But then it's eventually you do that too much and you realize, oh no, this is toxic and it's tearing me apart on the inside. Yeah, that whole repression thing, it turns out, is really bad for you physically and mentally and makes you want to kill yourself, which is why the residual sexual arousal you get from having your dirty little secret is not really, it's not that worth it, at least in my mind. So yeah, so the first reified image, this first glorious trans body you'll ever see when you're my age, was in pornography. And so and this came back later when I started just doing cartoons online, and I had met trans people before. I was always hostile or reticent or even hostile to them, because one, I wouldn't belong to any club that would have me as a member. By college I was already socialized as a man and fully committed to the obnoxious boy act. But even in college I went to a pretty lefty artsy college, so there were lots of out trans people, especially at the time in 2010, like probably way more where I went to school than in a lot of other places, especially because it was a small school. And I remember, like, in terms of like breaking the wall down or breaking what I have termed, and why I think that egg cracking is sort of, that's not the term that I would use for, me eventually discovering that I'm trans, because it didn't feel like an egg cracking. When an egg cracks, it sort of sluices out and, you can't put it back together again. But it's not really this loud experience or this violent, weird experience. To me, the experience was much more like, like in the cartoon, sometimes you imagine the inside of your head as this mission control. And for years, this mission control was being helmed by this weird hologram, this weird boy hologram who sort of flitted in and out of existence and wasn't really a person, but was this sort of composite identity of everything that every man had ever put in him. And so like a series of boy algorithms who desperately wanted to be a human, but just couldn't get there because they weren't human. They were this constructed set of tropes and behaviors. And when he was doing his best at the mission control, because when you're flitting out of existence, in and out of existence constantly, it's really hard to man the buttons at the fucking mission control in your head. But behind him all this time, there was this big arcane door. And next to this door was this crazy fucking lock. This weird lock with all the weird conservative or transphobic things that I had absorbed throughout all the years, and which I have playfully termed the shabooboo mechanism, after, the first most glaring instant of when some transphobia became internalized within me. So over the course of years and years, the shabooboo mechanism got built up, and it started unlocking, just like with little creaks at first, but I found ways to solve all of these like weird little intricate puzzles that were on this mechanism that were preventing me from discovering who I really was. And once it finally clicked, once the last piece of the puzzle finally, it was this, it started emanating this giant groaning noise as little gears and gizmos started turning and clocking back and forth. These little fucking clockwork mechanisms, intricate cogs and gears that, rusty from not having been moved in years and years, were finally churning away. And right next to them, this big arcane door with like floral wreaths and, little scroll work, and, it's gigantic too, to this relative size of the holographic boy in Mission Control. It started creaking open. And that's when the fucking Paprika Parade, if you've ever seen Paprika, there's this surreal, nightmarish parade and there's like weird electronic music going on in the background, dum, 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 of Satoshi Kon's Paprika, and all of that shit came charging out of the door. Just, it was the needles, it was the little packages of Spyro, it was the little, it was tits and asses with eyes and faces, it was dicks with eyes and a face, it was priests and, every every famous trans woman was there, and they were all marching outside in this Mission Control, overwhelming the holographic, and right behind them as it came out, it was there was the girl. She was there. There was Alex, girl version, Taylor's version. There was Alex, Taylor's version. And unlike the holographic boy, she was real. She had substance. There was an innate her. You could break a pool cue over her. You could break a chair over her, and she'd, she wouldn't flit. I don't know why those are my first instances. I think I like wrestling. Eventually in my life, I want to have like a chair broken over me as a stunt. I think that would be really cool. Either way. So she comes out. She, the Paprika Parade, it's fucking noisy, and it's just roiling around for days. And it's causing a lot of chaos. Eventually, most of it goes back in the room, but some of these Paprika characters are still hanging out around Mission Control while the boy is still, he's there, and he's sort of negotiating with the girl and talking about, that's who's been behind the door the whole time. And I don't know, I was talking to, I've come out to a bunch of people on here, and I've been talking to a lot of trans women, and especially, I think the question of, do you feel a discontinuity with your boy self is really interesting, because personally, I don't. And I think maybe it's because it's late in life, and maybe because I feel a lot of sympathy for this guy, because he just had it. He is so bad for so long. I don't want to kill him. I want to find a place for him in my head. And he's just, he's so sad and forlorn, but he wants to be a real person. He's fucking Pinocchio over here. He's the Liza P over here. Or the way that I describe the quality of the boy that I was is, have you seen the movie Blonde? I love the movie Blonde. It's people didn't get it, or people didn't like it, and I've gone on length describing what I think the movie is about and why I sort of I related it to it in a deep sort of way. But Blonde, the entire movie is about, it's a sort of artful biopic of Marilyn Monroe, but not really. What it's about is the idea of the Marilyn Monroe, the tulpa of Marilyn Monroe, the thought form. As I said before, a series of algorithms by men that have created this sort of flitting in and out of existence holographic computer program of a woman. Throughout the entire Blonde movie, she's always saying, I'm not really Marilyn. I'm not really Marilyn. And there's always this alienating or this Verfremdungseffekt, to borrow a Brechtian term. There's always this thing that's going on in the movie, especially because I think they deliberately kept in Ana de Armas's like slightly Hispanic accent, because the movie's constantly confronting you with the fact that this isn't Marilyn. This is the idea of Marilyn. This is, and not just the idea of Marilyn, it's much broader than that. The idea of Blonde, the idea of this sort of tortured, delivering angel who is made exclusively to be permissive, to have no agency, and to only serve as this blank canvas onto which men can put their ideas of what a perfect woman is. And, in the movie, there's this great scene between her and Arthur Miller about, how Arthur Miller is there. There's this one woman that he loved years ago, and he's always been chasing. And then he eventually calls Marilyn by that woman's name, because Marilyn was like, you can call me anything you want. You can do it. And that's it's funny because that's applied to, and I'm sure that's a huge feature of a lot of the way that cis women experience femininity, as having this image of ultra femininity necessarily foisted onto them. But funny enough, that's how I experienced being a boy. Very close to that. I mean, with different tropes, but it was the same feeling. It was all of these men sort of living vicariously through me, but living through their own, desires of what they thought a boy should be. And, they were also reconciling with their masculinity, reconciling their masculinity with their adulthood. And through that came their teachings of what it means to be a boy. You look like that, you need to act like this, or else the world will treat you bad. So yeah, the idea of a constructed person, that happens a lot with women in media. The two other Tulpa characters that I can think of most readily at the top of my head are like Rei Ayanami from Evangelion, who I also very much identified with as a kid, like more than Shinji or Asuka, because there was something about this sort of anhedonic waif who, there was something wrong with her, but she didn't know what was wrong because she wasn't herself. She wasn't her. She was someone else's idea of what a woman should be. She was Gendo's idea of this idealized, young form of Shinji's mom or whatever. And the other is Laura Palmer from Twin Peaks, who is this, delivering angel who is the entire universe of Twin Peaks only starts because of her death. She is this sacrificial lamb at the center of everything, who, as we find out in The Return, is also this constructed entity. This entity constructed as this countervailing force against the forces of evil of Bob. It's constructed by the firemen, and the Laura Palmer is this sort of, and because through Laura Palmer, the tenderness and the beauty of Twin Peaks gets expressed through her. The fact that she was so important to so many people. But that's also in Twin Peaks, you have it's all about tulpas. The character of Diane in The Return, who says, "I am not me. I am not me." Well, boy, howdy, I can relate to that. I can relate to being I am not me. So, that's how the boy felt. And the girl don't feel like that. Once the girl switched turn, once the shabubu mechanism unlocked, the girl felt solid. It felt like she didn't flit in and out of existence constantly. It felt like there was meat to her. She didn't feel like a body without organs. She felt like she was, everything was in there in the right place where it needed to be, And that was a weird feeling. It's something that I never felt before. And just the psychological effect of it, especially, I don't know how it feels, realizing you're trans when you're younger, or when you haven't lived with dysphoria for as long, like this is totally self-imposed dysphoria for as long as I have. But the slingshot effect of just like gender euphoria, just from turning the girl switch, not even like altering my appearance that much, but like just from thinking that, oh, I'm a girl. Yeah, fucking incredible. I get it. I understand the phrase gender euphoria. Now, this is what SSRIs are supposed to make you feel like. Sometimes the direct feeling I would compare it to was when I was first on, I forget which one it was. There was one SSRI I took that was actually kind of good. It's a lot of hit or miss, but after you do like the 3-week thug it out period where they don't work, there's like a week where the SSRIs kick in and you're like walking on cloud 9, baby. You're just like, woo, everything is good and I can experience joy and I can do my emails job because I don't feel like dying constantly. And then this feeling goes away after about a week and you get used to the dosage and then, it's tapers off from there. But I tell you, this gender euphoria feeling feels exactly like that, but much more powerful, much more sustainable, and has lasted way longer than a fucking week. I don't wake up angry anymore. I mean, I wake up angry because the world is terrible and, the world hates, the world is against fucking Gaza. And, I wake up angry for external reasons, not from this sort of pit of despair that is roiling around inside of me. So that's nice. I used to have horrible anxiety bulimia. Like pretty much every day, every morning I would wake up as like, oh God, another day, I'm throwing up. I've not thrown up. I've not had nauseous anxiety bulimia since turning the girl switch. So that is a pretty good sign. I mean, another thing too, that's like also, this is like fucking real, is that for years, I did not feature in my own sexual fantasies. I was like, I was a ghost. I was nothing. I wasn't even a ghost. I was just the air. I was just the atmosphere. Like I wasn't into it. I would think about other people, but now I'm in them. Now that, in my head, I have this image of a girl, or at least a girlier version of me, than the current one. Now that I have this image, it's like, wow, I might be able to have a normal relationship with someone, or I might be able to view myself as, and not just that. And because of that too, I just started being more responsible in life. I started cooking for myself. I started cleaning a lot more. I started exercising. I started like organizing. It was like this trip to adulthood instantly, that I had just been stuck in this arrested development, partially because it was this arrested sexual development, because I couldn't see myself as any sort of, serious sexual creature, and which, kept me from the other weird tropes of adulthood as well. So yeah, that's all in there. But so yeah, the boy, the girl me and boy me are talking it out. They're hashing it out, and I'm like, this guy is the saddest guy I've ever seen. I don't want to kill him. I want to give him a roll. But luckily, so before the door opened in the back of my head, I didn't experience, I didn't recognize it was dysphoria. But even if it was, there was this sort of muffled quality to it. I thought it was dysmorphia. I thought I was just sad because, I didn't have like a nice body or whatever. Well, that's true in a way, but the body that I would have wanted while pretending to be mask, wouldn't have provided me happiness, even if I had, gotten really buff and Bruce Lee like and had gotten there. I think that was always the reticence to try and pursue that, because, I knew somewhere deep in me. But, eventually, once the door opened, now I recognize the pain, the eternal pain at the center of it all as dysphoria. There was another creature that came out, and it's the body monster. Oh no, the body monster. And, the body monster, he's like some sort of a Cronenbergian or like gigantic thing, and he's made up of flesh and sinew and, genitals and organs, and, they're all flowing together. And it's this giant with long fingers who is, sometimes they're just standing there. Sometimes they move a little forward, but there's always this hostility or antagonization towards you. And, that is the dysphoria made manifest. And I thought I didn't want to kill the boy. And he didn't seem to want to die either. He seemed to want to exist, but just not be at the helm, not be at mission control, sort of take his spot in the realm of fantasy from which he was birthed. So I assigned him a role. He fights the body monster, or keeps the body monster busy. That's what he does. Alexander in the Greek means great protector. And I think there was always like this sense of like sadness from boy me, because I'm slight, I didn't try and be traditionally masculine. I'm not particularly strong or not particularly like tough. So there was this inkling of me that always wanted to get to a maskier vision of myself, where I was like the great protector, where I could, take a bullet for someone, or, put myself in between someone, or defend myself from someone who was attacking or antagonizing them, but I could never get there. And, this is also a function of heteronormative society. This is what boys are good for. This is what boys should aspire to. But I'd be lying if I said I wanted to be a fighter. I wanted to be somebody that could fight and defend with my body. But that was just not an option for me as a boy. One, due to physicality, and two, just due to utter lack of confidence, that you sort of need to be a fighter. But in my head, in the realm of fantasy, where he's actually exists, he can fight. And not only that, he gets to fulfill his role, the one that he always aspired to, and, taking a little sword, taking a little flamethrower, taking a little gun, and, constantly waging war against this thing which threatens to get Captain Alex at the helm, this girl who knows what she's doing and who is physically present all the time, so she can actually turn all the little knobs and buttons that require you to function. She's important. You need to protect her. So boy Alex is now, that's what he's doing, and in the head he's in this war. But I like to think over time, eventually he starts, over the body monster and Alex make peace, and they start like playing cards and video games together, and the game becomes less about fighting him than just merely distracting him, or even not distracting him, but showing the body monster that, you don't have to antagonize the captain. So, that's a long, dumb gay metaphor to explain, how it felt. It wasn't an egg. It was the shabubu mechanism and the body monster and the holographs and the tulpas. That's what it felt like, which is much longer winded than egg. So I guess egg is a good short term, but, yeah, it didn't feel like an egg. It felt like a lock, it felt like an unlocking, or like, or even just the classic metaphor of coming out in the closet. It felt like a door opening or something like that. It didn't feel so much like this. I don't know. Egg Kraken feels insubstantial. This feels sort of like something different. The metaphor, who cares? Get egg fucking discourse. I'm going to get into every discourse now. I'm going to become a trans man so quickly. Once I get on the hormones, I am so excited to get on hormones. I have my endo date and everything. I am freaking out. I want them much more quickly. Every day I'm ranting to myself, give me the girl pills, give me the fucking girl pills. Why won't they give me the fucking girl pills? I want the goddamn girl pills. I am, even though it's only a couple months away, which is, for wait times, it's bad. They should give it to you right away. If you're over a certain age, but I feel like estradiol should be over the counter. Now that I'm trans, estradiol should be over the counter. I believe so. So even though the amount I'm waiting is not so long compared to the wait times in, say, the UK or Ireland or other places like that, it's still like, it's fucking... Now that I know what the problem is, the fact that I can't access the medicine for it immediately is excruciating. So, there are certain ways to get around it in Toronto. There are clinics with nurse practitioners, but they charge a lot of money. I feel like I shouldn't have to pay $600 for a nurse practitioner to put a big red stamp that says trans on my forehead. I don't think I should. It's fucking extortion. Fucking, it's not extortion. Like, they need the money to, I don't know, but it's still like, I don't want to, there are methods for me to get this at relatively cheap costs. So the fact that I have to pay for an accelerated version of it is deeply angering to me, but whatever. Maybe it'll eventually come to that. The other option, of course, is DIY, which I would seriously consider doing, but I'm bad at computers, so I can't get the crypto. I don't know how to do crypto, which you need to get like the weird Brazilian DIY packets where it's like you have Bridget on the cover of the pills or something like that. So that's another option. I think I might just bite the bullet and wait. There's stuff that I want to mold my body maybe before I get to the date, because I want to lose a lot of weight first. Because when you get on the girl pills or the girl shots or whatever, you want to have a lot of fat. You get a lot of fat on you in order to have the desired effect of growing your breasts and butt there. So yeah, I think that's like that. So I want to get real thin first, So when time comes around, when I'm on the hormones, Hamburger City, back to Burger City, baby. It's burger time. I've been denying myself burgers for all this time. I've been losing weight, and now that I'm on the goddamn progesterone, or I don't know if I'll get prog. That shit's nuts, apparently. Yeah, that's another thing I'm finding about the trans experience is lots of conflicting advice, very conflicting advice, constantly thrown at you from all angles. I guess the only thing I know is that it seems very personal what's right for everyone. So it's a journey. You have to discover it for yourself, and eventually we all will. Eventually we all will. So yeah, there's that as well. That's my body plan. You see, my body plan. It was actually nice. I parlayed my fat guy legs into Chun-Li legs. So that's the only part of me I like now. Is I got big ass legs. That's vaguely feminine. That's all right. Yeah, that's a lot of evaluating myself in the mirror and saying, it's not, maybe. I'm still bricky as hell. I got makeup. I have dresses and everything that I've been putting on, and it's nice for me, but I'm not in any state where I'm like fully ready to go out in public. I don't think I'm even ready to shift to she, her pronouns yet, because I still look like a boy, and I still think I look like a boy. So yeah, even using the supposedly correct pronouns now might even make me feel more dysphoric, because I'm like, you're just doing this because you're polite. You're just doing you know what I look like. You see this stubble. I'm not even looking at my vocal train. I don't even sound like a girl. I sound like a weird gay dude. I sound like Leron from Gurren Lagann. So yeah, I don't know. I'll probably, once I start taking the hormones, I'll be much more comfortable using she, her pronouns. But that's probably not in the pipeline yet. But yeah, I also want to come out now, even if I'm sort of taking half measures with it, is because God, it's all that I think about all day, every day. And a lot of, which I feel weird. I'm so old and I'm doing this. I feel like a lot of younger trans women, they discover it or they make their decisions by like when they're teenagers or stuff, and they're going through all the stuff that I'm going through now, making all of these very obvious discoveries. And the fact that I'm getting to it so late is slightly embarrassing, but who cares? But yeah, all of these very basic revelations about the nature of my character, which, sometimes I feel were hidden from me. But I see so many, T-girls of my generation who were under the same thumb that I was, but we're able to get it together, or we're able to be more honest with themselves. I want to say that this is all from external forces, but I think there is this shy part of me, that a toxic type of shyness that has pervaded my life, that I needed to get rid of. And part of that shyness or embarrassment was the thing that was really impeding me, which I don't think came from anywhere. I think was just an innate part of my character that I'm sure plenty of society was responsible for the way I am. But at some point I do have to come to terms with the fact that a lot of my misery was very self-imposed. And which I'm sure is true of a lot of trans women, especially late in life, people that come out later in life like me, where you just realize, you feel this great shame at your chicken shit cowardice, even though you should. So yeah, the other stuff I've been thinking, yeah, that's the unenviable thing that I also have to do, that I don't have to do this, but I want to do this, is that I have a big following on social media. So this announcement is going to be very public, and I will undergo a lot of scrutiny. I already have right-wing people, who don't like me very much. And so I'm sure this will add more fuel to their fire. This goddamn freak. But, I feel positive about it. I want to continue this. I don't know about the future of the penis comics or whatever. And that's another question people might have, is why the penis comics? Why did you depict so much time drawing men in these situations. And I think there's actually a pretty neat dovetailing between these and my eventual discovery. One, why am I depicting all of these men as sort of ballless and soft-bodied? Why am I? And there's also like, even the way that intimacy is depicted with them, it's not depicted as sensuous necessarily. Sometimes it is, but mostly it's sort of mechanical, which is how I viewed my male sexuality in a lot of ways. It's how I like the way that I would operate, or the way that I would be romantic with other men was this sort of, this surreal thing. Not even surreal, but like this we were like Legos, or we were like objects, and we were like putting ourselves together. There was like this sense of dehumanization, or which I don't think the strip is about dehumanization, but the idea of like using your body and it being malleable and it being like this thing that is not like shameful as well, because that's what a part of it. I'm deeply ashamed of my male body, so depicting all of these men sort of nude together, they might have boners all the time, they might not. It's sort of nebulous as to what the dick represents, but the idea of men being comfortable around each other in their own bodies, in this universe where all men were comfortable in their bodies together, was this great sort of wish fulfillment from me, because of course, as a man, I could never be comfortable in my own body. So I was always, that's what I wanted desperately, was to be a man comfortable in my own body, which is why I kept depicting them like that. And like depicting them as non-judgmental towards their male sexuality. And it came to a point where I started doing this that some trans women asked for gags involving women with penises, which I started doing. And some of that received good attention. Others did not, and I was very sad about that. There's one comic I drew that I'm deeply ashamed about. It was a trans woman. She looks like one of my characters. She's got a cowboy hat on. She has the classic House of Decline boner or whatever. I insist that it's not a boner, but rather an abstract penis, and it can be flaccid. Some strips they're flaccid and erect. Other times I think it's just a vague penis. But she's going, I sure do love Fallout New Vegas. Hick. This was poorly. Some trans women loved it. They thought, comments like Dream Girl or whatever. But others were like, fuck this guy. This guy is obviously a chaser asshole or some shit like that, or he's pandering, or he's just using tropes. And it was like, no, I'm sorry. I'm not a chaser freak. Please. I don't want to threaten you or be sexually threatening, and so that's the most abhorrent thing in the world to me. I feel fucked up by that. I think also because that unlocked another deep sense memory of like, I think like a lot of the other thing I didn't want to do is like seem pandering or trying to do like I was doing trans stuff because I'm trying to get in clout or something like that. So there's this very trendy subject matter, and I must comment on it. I'll be a good cis ally by making jokes about it. And I think there was some people perceived me as doing that. And I think that might have been fair, because a lot of the early trans jokes I look back on at some of the trans comics, and they're not great, because what I'm doing is I'm relying on stereotypes, Highs, you have the skirt goes Spain or whatever, or at worst, people would interpret that as me overtly sexualizing trans women and saying that, the only way that, these people are good or human in any sort of way is if they're being sexualized, which I had some comments as a result of that. And that made me feel very sad, because you can see me on TV when I'm a boy in the show Naturally Sadie. For the first 2 seasons of that I did, I had long hair. And I loved having long hair as a teenager. It was great, for reasons that I didn't understand why until much later. But it's because classic rock was popular when I was a teenager. We were all listening to the music our parents liked, so we were all listening to like Zeppelin and Cream and stuff. And along with that, we were all like teens. We were like, "Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me," teens. So we were like, it was an excuse to grow out my long hair, but in like a masculine, rebellious way. And one time in school, I'm going across the stage to accept some sort of bullshit high school award you do. And the fella they had out was one of those friendly type of men that you see. And while I was on stage accepting this bullshit award or whatever, he starts like massaging my hair in front of the whole assembly hall, like groping it and like putting it in the palm of his hand and testing its weight and shit like that. And so this was fucked up. I go back to my seat and, my friend beside me says, "Hey, was that dude touching your hair?" I was like, "Yeah, I suppose he was." So not long after that, I cut off my long hair because it became clear to me, you're going to get, if you look anything like a girl, you're going to get treated like a girl. And you know what that means, So, which is stupid because, you can get predated on looking like anything. But that is a pretty common trope, that a pretty common cognito hazard that you can get tripped up in, is that I don't want to be, creepily sexualized in the way that men creepily sexualize women, in the way that maybe even I, before as being socialized as a man, have creepily sexualized women. So I'm not gonna do this. I'm gonna try and be as mask as possible. So when I saw trans women seeing like that Fallout News Vegas comment and basically expressing that same feeling of like feeling that they had been dehumanized in some way, or there was this misogynistic trope that was being attached to their bodies, it made me feel deeply ashamed and hurt. Like hurt because, not that they had hurt me, but hurt that I had, done a disservice. I had, made people feel less comfortable by being thoughtless. And which is why I stopped doing trans jokes for a while, because I felt like I wanted a more lived-in experience, or felt like I had to understand them better. And what it turns out is I had to understand me better. And so I'll probably be doing maybe more trans jokes in the future. Who knows if I'll continue with I'm going to continue with the penis guys for as long as I keep coming up with ideas for them. But I've been drawing different stuff lately. I've been drawing girl stuff lately, and that might make an appearance soon. I'm not gonna post pics of myself yet. People know what I look like as a boy. I don't really like the way I look right now. I look fine. I'm not like I'm fucking hideous or whatever. Well, kinda, Dysphoria is real. Dysphoria is real. That shit is, once you finally understand its shape, holy hell, it is fucked up. But now that you understand its shape, you can finally deal with it in a constructive way. Another reason for, so why now? Why after all these years? And I gotta say, the first part of it, I'll be honest, I don't care if it makes my Reddit trans or skirt go spinny or whatever, but I'm sure that goddamn bitch ContraPoints had a lot. People dither a lot about ContraPoints. Oh, she's bad, she's a lib or whatever. I love ContraPoints. I feel so indebted to her in terms of just breaking my transphobia. She does not, the initial thing that broke my transphobia was absolutely Contra. I could pin it to fucking ContraPoints videos, which is, but like really early ones too, like pre-transition ContraPoints videos, which was, I started watching her way back when, she was still calling herself a boy and or eventually genderqueer. And then she's taken down all those videos, which I get, because I know what it's like having photos of yourself or video of yourself as a boy that you can't get taken down. You're like, this didn't exist, but there you go. Well, not really. I mean, I've taken photos of myself as a boy recently, but that's only because, I got the Beyblade video, they showed face, and I lost a bunch of weight in order to feminize myself. So now I weirdly enough, I look thinner than I did when I was heavier, because the logic is usually, if you're heavier, you'll get bigger cheeks around your face, so you'll look femmier. But it was the opposite for me. All the fat just went to my jaw, and I looked like I had I still have a gigantic jaw, but I looked even jaw-ier. I looked like the goddamn Jaw Titan from Attack on Titan, or the Okama from Okama Island in One Piece. So I still think at my most dysphoric, I'm like, no, I'm the Okama. I'm gonna chase Sanji around. But yeah, I'm sure. So I first came to enjoy ContraPoints for another weird reason. Was I'm sure people know that I replaced Steven Crowder as the voice of the brain on Arthur, and I always saw my fate as kind of weirdly intertwined with him, because he was this person who had a lot of early success, who I measured myself against. I knew he was a terrible person, but I was still mad that someone who had such a similar life to me was like already a millionaire or had adult money by plying his comedic trade or whatever. So I would, even though I was a lib at the time, I think even by the time early ContraPoints videos, I would still calling myself a libertarian, which is very embarrassing, but whatever. But yeah, I first got into her because she had videos taking down Steven Crowder. And so, and they were different from other YouTube stuff at the time. She was much smarter. She was much evidently smarter than all the other YouTube people, than like Sargon of Akkad or any of those other. She just had that. She just had a wit, And I'm sure she launched 1,000 ships. Now there's like 1 billion smart ass people on YouTube, but there were only fucking morons at the time. So the fact that she was operating at like a much higher level than everyone was pretty noticeable. So she gains my trust in that way by being more self-evidently intelligent than any of her detractors or the people that she criticized, which were usually like right-wing weirdos like the Golden One or whatever, complete abject morons. So and because she takes down Crowder, like I'm like, ooh, this guy's bullshit, and this smart person is laying out all the reasons why. And then, over the course of time, you can start in real time. I saw her transition, and not just transition, but become fucking gorgeous, and I think she's really hot. And so that probably did a lot of stuff to me. So this person who I trust, and I didn't trust or I didn't get into them, it wasn't socializing with them because I was like still very transphobic, and going up to them, the idea of going up to them was intimidating. The idea of treating them like people was intimidating because I was this awful, stupid freak. But here in YouTube, where it's this sort of non-committal person just talking at you, and you don't actually have to interact with them, and you don't fear saying the wrong thing or being ostracized by them in some way, or being judged by them for not being able to say the right thing, then you can get into it without that sense of persecution. I mean, it's that thing that those like right-wing guys talk about, that like where there was that famous God Sod post where he says, oh, I saw a person in the barista whose gender I couldn't identify, and I suddenly became afraid that everyone would start like pointing their fingers at me as like, you got their pronouns wrong, you're an asshole. But that was something that was keeping me back, this sort of perceived idea of vindictiveness amongst trans people, the idea that if I said any or did anything wrong, they would attack me and try and destroy me or something like that, which is obviously not true. There are some people like that, but very few and far between in real life, as far as I've concerned. They're mostly online, the ones who are like trying to like weaponize their identity or whatever, but also very few and far. Yeah, the idea of that person is very, very significantly inflated by conservative paranoia, but I understand that conservative paranoia because a lot of that was what was holding me back. But so then I get to this lady she's telling me, not only has she demonstrated that she is sane and smart, but that the other thing that holds you back is like, oh, if you try and transgender, you'll look like ass, you'll look terrible. And it's like, no, she's doing it, she looks fine. So it was nice to see that happen. And I still fuck with ContraPoints. I watched that Twilight video. Even like the shit about 3-hour YouTube video where she's like a fucking lib. Whatever. Yeah, I like her talking. I can tell her. I don't care. I'm a huge sicko for watching any 3-hour YouTube video essay, but whatever. She's important to me, as I'm sure she is to a lot of like elder millennial trans people who are like, oh, this person, she seems to be doing okay. Maybe I can do it. So there was that. And I'm sure that was like a big factor. But as a result of that, because she made me no longer afraid of trans people, could now talk to trans people. I could, and I viewed them as people. And that was nice because then I could hear their experiences and then start realizing that, oh, my experience is kind of similar. I always wondered why I didn't fit in as a gay guy. They said the pseudo-autism, the electronic music, the obsession with body horror, the femi, but not Twinkie femi. Why all these things are adding up. All these things are adding up a little. So that was nice. And what I think finally it was fucking Twitter. Of course, there's so many. I started following because I did comedy, like comedy, and a lot of the very funny accounts on Twitter happen to be trans women. I don't know why. There are lots of very funny trans women on Twitter, but a lot of these very funny trans women also happen to be, sort of. I wouldn't mind looking like that, And I kept getting affronted. You can only scroll through your timeline of just beautiful trans women constantly and saying to yourself like, God, I wish I were a girl. That just escaping your mouth constantly, instinctually, as you scroll past a picture of the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. And it's like, God, I wish I were a girl. It worked for her. Maybe it could do for me. So yeah, I'm sure that had a lot to do with it, just being exposed to that concept. And finally, I think that like the final nail in the coffin is when I started doing these spaces, mostly out of boredom. I started doing Twitter spaces. Not out of boredom, but talking while inking, it helps me to ink. It distracts my brain, especially if I'm doing some very tedious, like pattern-based inking, like talking really helps. And I guess for whatever reason, because I am some sort of social media figure, and because I was not, the way that I had presented myself on social media was not inherently threatening to trans people, in fact, even welcoming to trans people. And all these trans women coming into these spaces and talking about their lives and experiences, especially like young trans women too, like in their 20s, and something that I kept realizing as they kept talking about themselves was like, wow, I very much like you when I was your age. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. That was it. That was just hearing lots of these experiences, especially like these young college-age women who would talk to me on the old Twitter Spaces horn. Just the similarities became undeniable in a very concrete way. Because I just didn't. Just the way that, because I thought it was not that there's any single way to act gay or like bisexual, but even when I was like finding with groups of gay men, there was a sense of almost kinship. There was a sense of like, I sort of can get what these guys are about, but there's something that is, still different about me. I'm still not like the other boys in some way. And then I'm finally, and I guess the other thing about spaces is this horrible criminal shyness, which has plagued me all my life. Prevents me from going up to people and talking to them, even though I would like to. It prevents me from, asking people questions and being enthusiastic about getting to know them, even if I would like to, because, I'm afflicted with this, terrible thing. But with spaces, and especially when they're, you're some sort of, you have the social media clout, people are coming to you. You don't have to do the guesswork of, figuring out if somebody will be abhorred by your presence, because you're already on the level of, oh, no, they like me already, so I don't have to work as hard to win over their approval or whatever. And so the fact that it was in that entirely non-judgmental venue, too, and the fact that these trans women were always already approaching me with the idea that, they liked what I was about. That was, I'm sure that was a way for me to be more comfortable with it and to start openly talking about it. But yeah, when just even talking about like hormone routines or going through it or the progress, like I would, I all I kept thinking was, God, I want this so much. God, I just want to be girls with somebody. I just want to be girls. Sometimes don't you just want to be girls with somebody, not girls singular, but girls with other girls as well, And I guess that's what it felt like, hanging out with the girls, being one of the girls. That's what it felt like, which is why it was nice. And it got me used to that idea. And once I got used to that idea, I didn't want to stop doing it, And so, yeah, the psychological switch turned. It resulted in distress, but then also a huge amount of happiness. Long, sustained, amazing. I feel normal. That's never happened before. I feel like I can get up and do things like everyday chores. It used to like frighten me to do laundry or dishes, and I'm an adult now. It's like in a second, as soon as the switch turned, I was like, oh, I'm a fucking functional adult now. It's crazy. This shit is fucking crazy. I'll tell you that much. I guess you already knew that, but what I've been ranting about and why I've been talking about this at such length is, yeah, and I don't know if people will get any use from this. I don't know if it's supposed to be useful. This is entirely selfish on my part because I just want to talk about it. I'm tired of, not talking about it. I'm tired of, not participating in conversations because I feel like I'm not worthy of it. And so maybe this is a way of getting all of it in one nice, tidy package and, bringing it out all at once. I could have expressed this in like a long auto-bio comic, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to incorporate trans characters into the usual comics. There's lots of good auto-bio out there. I even had, I'm sure reading The Pervert by Michelle Perez, who had on the show. Great episode, great book. Read the book. I'm sure I already knew I was trans by then. So, but I'm actively seeking out, trans media in order to reaffirm feelings. And that book is great. And talk about reaffirming a lot of the stuff that you think about yourself. Yeah, that's all in there. And there was this desire to do that before, especially like what I just told you about the body monster, to illustrate that. But I think, there's enough. There are enough coming out stories in comics already. So I think that's why I'm doing it in this venue. It's just sort of much more casual. Also, I didn't want to write. I had a lot to say clearly about this. I will have a lot more to say in the future. I think writing all of this out in a big, massive Twitter thread would have also been ungainly, or making a big blog post about it. And this is also a way for me to set the tone. I'm having a good time with it. I'm happy about it. I know what I sound like. I know what I look like thus far. It will get better. Maybe. Who knows if I'll commit to vocal training? Fuck vocal training. This is what I'm gonna sound like. It's me, Roscoe, the trans woman. But yeah, I think all of this is to say, thank you to the girls who came on my spaces. I'm sure, and to everybody, but especially to you, because I'm sure without you, this would have not happened. The fact that you made me feel comfortable, and that was really nice. And people generally have made me feel comfortable in ways that probably weren't so profound to them, but were very profound to me. Even buying makeup, expensive makeup at Sephora, where the girl is obviously, she's trying to sell me on stuff, so she's being extra polite. But I don't know, she was good. She didn't make me feel like a freak. And in doing so, they, provided me with a joy that I don't think I've ever really experienced before. That's an end to anhedonia is crazy. I guess that's what's really crazy about it, because I thought I would be sort of flitting back and forth with this anhedonia all my life, and I just don't feel it anymore. I feel joy. And I hope on your journeys in life, discovering through identity, whatever makes you feel innate, what makes you feel solid, what makes you feel like a real person, pursue that and mine the joy from it, because that is what I have done, and it feels great. And I love you all. You are wonderful people. House of Decline is brought to you by members of our $10 Patreon tier. These include Big Fan of Noise, Cher, Connor Lane, Constantine Bristow, Daniel Stern, Dr. Spachemin Zero, Fiat Lux, Height Concept, Jody Shen, Jordan Rabe, Keaton Livingston, Kevin Ott, Kimberly Latrun, Liz Heckmayer, Miles Forrester, Piscadoro, and Tor. Thank you for your support, and we will continue well on into the future.